In the wake of the news that Poirier and Hooker are going to fight in San Diego later this year, I think the entire lightweight division needs to be looked at. Lightweight is far and away the most competitive and stacked division in the entire sport right now. But if we were to take a look at a bracket, and we understand we're going to do this thing backwards, okay? We're going to start with the finals and then we're going to work our way out. But the finals are already set, which is Tony taking on Khabib. But if you were to back yourself up, I feel like a quarterfinal match here is going to be Hooker versus Dustin Poirier. On the other side of that bracket, we've got Justin Gaethje, who appears to be getting a bye. Now, what a bye means is that he's not going to have to compete here. He can rest on his laurels, look at some other great things he's done. But Justin Gaethje does appear in many ways to be the new Tony Ferguson. To remind you guys how Tony ended up down here, it wasn't just from being great, doing great, winning an interim championship. He had more people backing him. He had fans and fellow fighters, fans demanding and fellow fighters stepping out of the way and saying, put Tony in. He even got Khabib himself to say, hey guys, you better re-sign this and you better give the opportunity to Ferguson. He had a mandate to the highest of levels, okay? One step down, but the next mandate goes to Justin Gaethje. So I don't know that Justin's going to have to do anything more other than not get passed by. And the landscape and perception changes very rapidly within this business. If you are not active, if you are out of sight, you are out of mind. And this is where Hooker is starting to catch up to everybody. Now, the big problem that Justin could have to face, if Hooker gets by Poirier and Hooker advances to all of a sudden a public dispute with Justin, the problem that Justin is going to face that I don't think he's aware of yet is that perception is reality in all of life, but maybe no focus group more clear to observe that expression in than the world of MMA. Point being, if Hooker continues to call out Justin, for now, Justin can just ignore the call out. Go, hey, I've already advanced. I'm already over you. I already have the support. I'm not going to come and fight you. That's going to last for a little bit of time. But if Hooker keeps putting on world-class performances and now is going to take on a former champion, and should Hooker get the jump on Poirier and continues to call out Justin, there is quickly going to be a perception by Justin not accepting the call-out that Justin doesn't want the call-out. He doesn't want the call-out because he doesn't believe he can beat Hooker, and therefore Hooker's going to leapfrog him. I'm not arguing for you that any of that is accurate. I don't argue for you who would win that fight between Hooker or Justin, or that Justin doesn't take the fight because he doesn't want to fight him. Justin doesn't take the fight because he's in a very good spot right now. He's in a spot that says, I get a fight. Should anything happen between now and April 18th to either Khabib or Tony, I get to fill in. I get to fill in because I'm the only meaningful guy that raised his hand and said, I'm going to go through training camp, I'm going to be on weight, and I'm ready to fill in. Okay, good enough. That argument isn't going to last forever, particularly when Hooker is selling out arenas, calling his own shots, and having these world-class performances. Eventually, you either have to answer that call-out or you have to step aside and let Hooker come through. I'm not ready to predict for you where this goes, but there's other meaningful things happen. Islam can only be ignored for so long. Kevin Lee can only beat so many people before his name starts to come back in that conversation. It looks as though we've got our final set. It looks as though Conor's getting a bye. He's getting a pass right in to the championship match. The question becomes, once the dust does settle and they figure those things out, the activity of Hooker, I would predict for you, the activity of Hooker, if he can parlay that with the continued success of Hooker, is in a great spot to be next.